Hello and a pleasant good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Morning Quest. We've got a very exciting one for all of you today. We're keeping tabs on a number of games we've been keeping up with here, but we've also got some exciting announcements. The Metaphor director has spoken out in a way that I think pleases me and might please some of you who watch this show as well. But we've got some FF7 stuff to cover. Nintendo's dropped quite a few things in the last 24, 48 hours that are definitely worth discussing. So again, a lot to cover here. I say this all the time and I end up being wrong, but this should be a shorter episode of Morning Quest. But as you all know, I have a tendency to ramble. I see that Hyrule Falcone, Nick, and Luz are our early birds today over on YouTube. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing as well as I am. I got some big plans this weekend. I have a work project that's launching today, and if it goes well, I'll be streaming Metaphor all day tomorrow, and might do an FF7 podcast Sunday. But if it doesn't go well, I'm working. But anyway, that's not going to stop us from this morning. Let's dive right into it here. I think we got some fun stuff to discuss, some fun stuff to talk about. So let's not stand on ceremony too long, and let's just dive right into it. Because again, a lot to discuss today. I want to get to it. First things first, the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo announced an expansion to Nintendo Switch Online, which includes Banjo-Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie. Which, look, I think we're all in the same boat that we want as many games added to Nintendo Switch Online as possible. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that Banjo-Tooie is here. I just think it's something that should have been announced earlier. But let's let it go. Let me tell you something, man. I think these kind of platformers, these like treasure hunter platformers, I think there's still a place for them. I think there's still a place for them. I also always forget how amazing the soundtrack to the Banjo games are. So, I mean, again, look, the Nintendo Switch Online, I mean, as far as online functionality goes, it leaves a lot to be desired. But the coolest thing about Nintendo Switch Online is the fact that you have access to all these retro games. Part of the problem is I don't need to have these on right now. But part of the problem is some of the best retro games and some of the most flagship retro games that Nintendo has to offer, specifically in a first-party sense, are just missing. Adding the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, is a good start, but I'm not gonna lie, I'd like to see more done. I'd like to see, I think the Game Boy emulator is particularly lacking. The fact that none of the Pokemon games are up, I think is silly. Obviously, we all know what Game Freak's interests are, but nonetheless, I digress. I hope the Nintendo Switch Online and all the retro games they offer continues to grow. Speaking of which, I guess I wasn't going to cover this till later, but I guess it actually moseys right into what we wanted to discuss here. So let's pull this up. Check this out. And let's do it the old-fashioned way then. Okay, check it out, guys. GameCube controllers rumored to be in reproduction, which has been a telltale sign of a new Super Smash Bros. Entry. I have a different take than this particular, what we got here, Justin? I have a little bit of a different take than Justin. I think he actually touches on this in the article somewhere. I don't see this as a sign of a new Super Smash Bros. Entry. I'm not going to lie to you guys, and maybe Treehouse will show up to confirm. I don't think a new Smash Brothers is coming anytime soon. A new Smash Brothers. I don't think that's anywhere. I don't think that's anywhere on the horizon. I think what you'll get is when the next Switch launches, you're going to get like a Smash Ultimate 4K. You know, on the Switch too, you'll get like a Smash Ultimate 4K, which will virtually be the same game Maybe they add a couple people. I don't know. I doubt it. That said, you know what I think this is? I think the Switch 2 is going to launch with a GameCube library for Switch Online, right? They need reasons to convince people to move from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, because for a lot of us, not moving to the Switch 2 immediately is going to be the smart move, right? We don't know what the launch titles with the Nintendo Switch are, but whatever the launch titles end up being, whether it ends up being like a Mario game, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, the truth is, whatever the launch titles are, aren't necessarily going to be what everybody's into. Like, my favorite Nintendo franchise to play is Zelda. But let's be honest, between Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom, there's not going to be a new Zelda coming for launch, right? But one way you might be able to get people like myself to buy the Switch 2 on day one is if you have a lot of these GameCube games available to the Switch Online customers. So that's what I think they're cooking. Because, again, and they go over some of the details in the article. And again, all articles are in the description if you guys want to look at them further, because on this show, just so we can cover everything, I do kind of gloss on them. But if you want to read them in detail, I always include them in the description. That's it. My takeaway from this is that GameCube is coming to Nintendo Switch Online, and with GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch Online, they feel they could probably sell a lot of GameCube controllers. Because when they brought the N64 to Nintendo Switch Online, they sold like a wireless N64 controller you could buy. So that's what I think this is a sign of. I think a new Super Smash Brothers is wishful thinking. I think it's more likely Kingdom Hearts 4 is a launch title on Switch 2 than a brand new Smash Brothers. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, chat? Ooh, coffee's hitting. Coffee's hitting this morning. All right, let's move over to the next trailer I wanted to watch today. So this one is for Super Mario Party Jamboree. Now, I'm not going to lie, I am mad at Nintendo and mad at myself for essentially buying 3 Mario Party games on the Switch, when in reality, they could have just made one Mario Party game and made that one game a hub for all the maps they want to add, all the modes, all the games. I don't know, man. I feel like you could have just sold me Mario Party once and I would have bought your DLC season passes. But hey, who am I kidding? This seems to look like the most fun one so far. So I'll stop yapping. What's up, David? And let's let it roll in. Oh, sorry guys. I had the audio muted. The audio wasn't muted for the Banjo trailer, was it? I'd feel like a real idiot. I don't think it was.
I feel like in our family, the Nintendo Switch system has just always been there. Appa got you one for your anniversary?
The ultimate gift.
If there was one game to be like our family game,
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. 10 seconds in, just show me the game, Nintendo.
it's any of the Mario Party games.
100%. We've been playing the Mario Party games since we were kids.
We got to be kids with you. So much opportunity
No, it wasn't. As in, it wasn't muted, or the music wasn't playing.
for laughter. So much opportunity
For
to
betrayal.
competition.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. I'm leading. You can't catch up. Just give up. Just give up. Getting that distance on you. Y'all want to catch up? Because I'm already jumping. I'm jumping.
You know, I look at a commercial like this, and it just kind of shows you that Nintendo's playing a different game than everybody else. No pun intended. They're just playing a different game than anybody else. You know how I'm kind of thinking this to myself as I'm watching this trailer. It's like, you know how a Mario Party game plays. There was sound? Okay, thank God. You know how a Mario Party game plays. You know what to expect. But they're kind of taking that Nintendo Wii approach and trying to show like, hey, this is family compatible, which is something Nintendo has as a brand that no one else in the gaming industry really has. So it's interesting to see them kind of lean into that. Which, again, they always have, but...
Don't push me, don't push me, don't push me, don't push me. What does that say, new record?
Okay. Listen, I beat your brother. That's good.
Okay. So Jamboree does look a lot of fun. Good morning, Lance. Lance the Master has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out Lance Make sure you check out Lands. Lands, you can hook yourself up with a shout out if you need to. My keyboard's all the way over there. Can't reach. Anyway. Jamboree looks fun. I mean, I just hope that in the future, like, just update the game. That's kind of been my issue with both Mario Party so far, is that I buy this game from you, Nintendo, and then you never look at it again. You know, instead of making a whole new game, just add maps, add mini games, add characters. I don't know. It just seems like they're sleeping on Mario Party a little bit. Okay. Okay, so what do we discuss? We got Banjo, we got Mario Party. Okay. Okay, you know what? Let's talk a little metaphor. Let's talk a little bit of metaphor and metaphor's director sounding off in a way that definitely pleases me and I think will please much of my audience. Okay. So Metaphor's director, Katsura Hashino, has sounded off a little bit, saying, games that look like they were designed by a bunch of people in a CEO boardroom aren't exciting or interesting to Metaphor ReFantasio's director. So he kind of takes a stab at the video game industry, basically saying that he feels like one of the problems plaguing particularly the RPG genre is that a lot of these games, again, as he kind of said in that headline, look like games that were crafted within a boardroom. Now, what exactly does he mean by that? I think what it comes down to is that if you have a room full of board administrators, they want to make as much money as possible. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. That's what keeps a company going. That's what keeps the devs paid and fed and gets us these games, right? So it's not all bad. That said, their job is not to make you a good game. The board, their job is to make as much money as possible. Now, the problem is that a lot of the time that will lead developers to try and make a game for everybody, or try to make a game or craft a game in a way that it's for everybody. Now, again, you have some games and some IPs that certainly can achieve that, right? I think Mario is a great example. I think if you enjoy video games, from Candy Crush to Elden Ring, excuse me, almost did Elder Scrolls, to Elden Ring, I think you can enjoy a Mario game. I think Mario is one of those few IPs, and platformers in general are one of those few things where you really can try to make a game that maybe doesn't appeal to everybody, but appeals to most everybody. Anyway, getting it back to the to Metaphor and the director here, I think ultimately what this comes down to, though, is that a game made for everybody is a game made for nobody, right? And Metaphor, certainly, like, it's making a big splash now. It's making a lot of waves. We discussed this last week. It sold 1 million copies in its opening weekend. So it's making a lot of waves. It's made a big splash, but it's certainly not a game for everybody. I'll tell you that right now. It is certainly not a game for everybody. Me personally, I absolutely love the game so far. I'm excited to talk more about it. It's right up my alley. But there are some people where a game like this is going to be too difficult. There are some people that a game like this, the plot's going to be too difficult for them to understand. There are some people that, in fact, I think there's a good chunk of the gaming population that this game is not going to stick with. But I think RPG fans and people who are fans of fantasy, this is going to stick with. I think ultimately, the point being made here, actually, and let me actually, here's a great quote. I wanted to find it. Here we go. I feel like if you have these super highly polished games that look like they were designed by a bunch of people in a CEO boardroom, that doesn't really excite me. It doesn't really interest me. This, to me, actually kind of goes into what we were discussing about the industry's obsession with realism. And yes, see, we do every Friday, we do a morning show. So if you're free on Friday mornings over on Twitch, make sure you join us. I think kind of what he's getting at is what we've discussed on this channel a lot, is there's this obsession with like realism and making everything look as super real and super polished as possible. But I think to a degree that's made things look kind of stale. Meanwhile, you have Metaphor ReFantasio, where the graphics aren't mind-blowing. They're not like it's a game that could have been on the PS4, graphically speaking. You know? but that doesn't take away from how amazing and beautiful the game looks. Now, he has another quote I wanted to run down. Here we go. While talking, here we go. We'll touch on this. While talking about Persona and the inspiration behind making those games, casts have realistic and relatable thoughts, feelings, and fears. Hashino says that Metaphor's characters are much the same. They're facing anxiety and all these other big things that affect everybody, no matter who they are, where they are, or how old they are. This is what actually, this right here is actually the genius of Metaphor ReFantazio. Because the idea is archetypes are not just for all the figures, in all the heroic figures in fantasy, right? Archetypes, which again is sort of the magic summon system in Metaphor, like Personas are in Persona. Archetypes aren't just experienced by these heroic fantasy legends. They're experienced by you. The things these characters are going through, you know, you're not literally going through the same thing, but archetypically speaking, you are going through the same thing, right? And I think that's ultimately what has been the success to the Persona games and now Metaphor, is that while these characters are living in these wacky worlds with these crazy, between midnight channels and going into mementos and all these sorts of things that are so out there and so imaginative. But at the end of the day, a lot of these characters are going through the same things you and I are going through, archetypically speaking, right? And I think this is a lot of what the Metaphor director is getting at, Hashino, is that there's no right way for a boardroom to be able to figure that out, right? And just because your game looks polished and the characters look really high res and polished doesn't mean they're relatable. Now, I think there's one more quote I wanted to discuss. Here we go. Speaking on his success in IGN, he says, "I want something, even if it's not complete, even if it's really rough, even if it's something really unfinished, to give me a glimpse of the humanity behind it." Now, those of you who are playing Metaphor, you can see how the meta-narrative is definitely painting into what he's saying here. But ultimately, what he's saying is that you just got to have heart. You just got to have heart. Even if your game is buggy, even if your game is unfinished, even if the graphics leave something to be desired, the game has to have heart. There's so many games right now, and we see it every time we watch a state of play, every time we watch, like every time we do this, right? We see so many games that look stunning, but they have no heart. Case in point, Concord. Concord is a perfect example. It is a game that looks beautiful, was really well polished. The cutscenes are more beautiful than a Pixar film. The animation was top notch, but the game had no heart. You had a bunch of characters that nobody asked for, that weren't visually appealing, that hot sauce was like a trope before the audience could even understand it. There was no heart, right? It was polished. They spent 8 years on it. They spent tons of money on it. Another example would be Halo Infinite. They spent $500 million on Halo Infinite. And it looked somewhat polished, but it was lacking that heart that, you know, fans of Halo look for in a Halo game. But all right, we're gonna leave Metaphor there. I do want to get into First Soldier. We do have some First Soldier stuff to discuss. How are we doing on time? Okay, we got a little bit of time. Let's maybe try to blow through a few of these. Let me see. How does this come out? Does that look all right? Perfect. So, something else we talk about on this channel a lot. Also, let me catch up with the chat. I see you guys are popping off over here. Bobby says, "First time I've managed to catch a live morning quest." Well, we're happy to have you, Bobby. You know what? Let's get the chat back up on the screen. Get you guys chilling. Oh, right over here. Anyway, good to see you, Bobby. Nick says, "I got roasted on Twitter for saying that everything isn't for everyone. Blew my mind that people thought that was a controversial take." Do I follow you on Twitter? I hope I do, because I would have totally boosted that signal. I don't know how people could roast you, because again, a game made for everybody is a game made for nobody. Seriously, we've seen that play out. Perfect examples are like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a game that most gamers will not touch, yet it's one of the best-selling games of the last few years. Because again, a game made for everybody, game made for nobody. But if you know your audience and you can target your audience and you give your audience what they want, what they've been asking for, whether you're Elden Ring, whether you're Black Myth Wukong, whether you're Metaphor ReFantazio, you will see the success that effort will give you. Nocturnal Gale says, when I think of metaphor, originality is not the first thing that comes to my mind. It's a very safe game. I don't know about that, Noct. I might have to disagree with you on that. I'll say that it's safe in the sense that it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it didn't need to. And I think just because a game plays it safe doesn't mean it's not original. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we can agree to disagree, and we can always circle back on that when we get to the end of the episode. Luz says, yeah, good point, Landy, since there was never any DLC for Superstars. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Mario Party is a perfect game. You could do don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of DLC season passes, but Mario Party, you can make that work. Characters, maps, games, it's all there. Yeah, good point. There are certain games it's not for everyone. The best games are not for everyone. The best games, the most legendary games, were made for a specific audience, and that specific audience fell in love with the game and kept its legacy alive. You know what I mean? Animal Crossing is another great example. There are some gamers who would rip their eyeballs out if they had to play Animal Crossing for more than 2 hours. Now, I love Animal Crossing, so I'm not that guy. But Animal Crossing is not a game for everyone. But it is a game for a specific audience that is quite large. Anyway, let's move on now. This is a topic we've discussed a lot on the channel. Steam has now added a warning to customers that they are only buying a license for a game and don't actually own it. So again, we discussed how California is now making this clear to those who buy games digitally or make any sort of digital purchase. You should have known this. I'll say that. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. That anything you own on Steam, you don't actually own. You own a license for it. And should Steam fall off the face of the earth, you will lose that license for it. So, this really shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Unfortunately, the way PC gaming is, it's like 99% digital. But the way I've gone with PC gaming now is, if I really love a game, I'll buy it on console, right? So I can have a hard copy. And if I really, really love it, I'll buy its PC port. That's really where I stand with all that. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, yes, actually. I guess I just walked into First Soldier, so we might as well. Let's put the screen cap on. So here's some new art for the First Soldier featuring Sephiroth and young Angeal. Now, if you look into the background right here, you can clearly see this is Wutai. And you have a Wutai that appears to be in relative ruins. So we'll see where the story goes, and we're going to watch the opening movie. I do have that pulled up. We'll probably watch that next. It'll be interesting to see where this story goes. And if we'll actually see the war in Wutai. And see the way Sephiroth and young Angeal may have had an impact. Ugh, coffee's hitting. All right, you know what? I think we should watch the First Soldier opening film. What do we have left to discuss? Not much. Let me make sure. Okay. Let's watch this First Soldier opening film. Let's get this out of here. Let's go full screen. Okay. So here's the opening movie, essentially for episode 2, I believe they're calling it. Like everything that we've experienced so far and covered has been episode 1. And now, here's the intro for episode 2, which will introduce young Angeal, among other things. All right, let's let it rip. I'm going into this blind. I've not seen this yet. So let's check it out. Let's get that sweet 1080. Oh. Wait a minute. It's Glenn. That's gotta be Glenn. Dude, so yeah, I think this is them, like a wrecked Wutai. Post-war or something. Well, post-battle. Post-battle. The war is supposed to still be active.
この土地には正体不明の不気味な力がある。
Okay, Alyssa. I don't know who that is.
その正体を突き止めるまでは調査が終わったとは言えない。
Okay, that's gotta be her. Okay. That's Lucrezia. That looks just like Lucrezia. For those who aren't in the know, Lucrezia is Sephiroth's biological mother. That looks just like Lucrezia. I'm okay. Sorry, my wheels are turning. Okay, okay, it's her. Do you see that? Do you see that? What is this? What are these? What are these? Missing soldiers. Oh, so we're looking for Glenn in the gang. So we're actually looking for Glenn. Actually, hold on. My friends. Whoa, my mentors, my friends. Whoa. Okay. Keep it rolling.
何が何でも彼らをミッドガルへ連れて帰りたいと思っています。俺たちは育った世界が。
Okay. I'm losing it. I'm telling you, my work project goes well today. We're doing a podcast Sunday. This is nuts.
違う。理解できる日は永遠になさそうだ。
セフィロスがあの刀を手にする。
Dude, these locations are so sick. These locations are so, like, honestly, I'm almost... Can this Sephiroth backstory get like a full-fledged RPG one day? Like, this is really interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
世界が変わる気がするもの。
世界が変わる？
Okay. I'm sorry. We've gone bonkers, ladies and gentlemen. We have gone bonkers. So, yes, this is Lucrezia, but this is clearly Genova. This is clearly Genova and Genova's work. Look at the way she smirks. Look at the way she kind of blips in and out of existence. Let that...
世界が変わる？
See what I mean? Like, look, she's the only one glitching. She is the only one glitching. Play it back at half speed. See? Angela ain't glitching. Nothing around her is glitching. She's the only one glitching. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? And now, you know what's funny is like this actually... Yeah, we need a podcast for this because yeah, no, we are. We're again, so long as my work project goes well today and I don't have to work over the weekend, which would be my own fault, by the way. But so long as that goes well, Sunday we're going in. Oh man. This is you know, and now the whole imposter Tifa subplot now makes so much more sense. That Sephiroth was, in a sense, trying to do to Cloud what seemingly was done to him here. Here, let this keep going. And you see, oh, and Hojo has the same glow! This is all, oh my god. Oh my god. You know what might be funny? And I'm not even kidding. I might actually like this. If we found out Hojo had some kind of like... Because we know that he got romantically involved with Lucrezia, and Hojo and Lucrezia are Sephiroth's biological parents. But it would actually be interesting to me if Hojo did... If, like, hear me out. If Hojo didn't even think of Lucrezia as a person, he just saw Lucrezia as the vessel for his, like, for the, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is imagine Hojo was in love with Genova, right? And Lucrezia was just a means for him to have a baby with Genova, and that baby being Sephiroth. Like, what if Hojo actually has, and again, maybe not even a romantic way, maybe in like a narcissistic scientific way, if there's really like an obsession, if Hojo is in a sense almost like hypnotized by Genova, or being influenced by him just due to some either scientific infatuation or whatever, however you want to spin it. Because I don't know, man. Let's keep going.
あれであれ。それがお前を動揺させるなら、断ち切れ。決着をつけろ。
Okay, and that looks just like Cloud. That's the same Cloud pose and everything. Where does this go? Does this take us to... Okay, we got more. This is nuts. This is nuts. Yep, we watched this scene last week. We watched this scene last week with the... Although it looks like there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more this time. Let that roll.
そろそろ現場に到着だ。少し話さないか。俺はアンジール・ヒューレ。ソルジャーとしては駆け出しだが、年はお前と変わらないはずだ。おい、嘘だろ。
1992年、これは私の一世一代の大仕事。世界の歴史が変わる瞬間の記録である。
Bachman. Interesting. That is cool, man. I gotta say, the first Soldier lore and the stuff they drop is really cool. By the way, there's some Masamune lore in the recent update. We will most certainly have to check that out. So, we're gonna look at a couple pictures real quick. We're gonna look at a few pictures just to verify. 1 second, let me get them all pulled up. Okay, let's pull these up. So, here is quote-unquote Alyssa. Here is Lucrezia. Alyssa, Lucrezia. Perfect match. You're not going to convince me otherwise. Perfect match. Oh, but Landy, you sicko. These are 3D rendered arts. They can blend together. They can look similar. You're like, don't you think you're jumping the gun? Okay, fine. Let's go to concept art. Here's Alyssa. Here's Lucrezia. Perfect match. So whoever this Alyssa is seemingly being used as some kind of Genova vessel so that Genova can manifest a woman who looks like Sephiroth's mother, biological mother, and use that to kind of play with him, toy with him. Something's going on there. All right. Again, barring that things go well for me today, we'll probably do a whole podcast for that. But let's, I've got, perfect. I got three stories we could cover quickly, and then we'll get out of here. I'm sure you guys can hear my dog Kobe. He's letting it rip. All right, check it out, guys. So there's been some rumors that Nobuo Uematsu was going to retire from video game music at the conclusion of Fantasian. That is not true. He does plan to work on some stuff with FF7 Part 3. But to be honest, guys, he is near retirement. And he has been pretty open about that. So while the man isn't fully retired yet, and we do have some work we could still look forward to, especially with the FF7 trilogy, truth is, we got to cherish this man while he's still here. Let's move on to the next one. Fun little fact I learned that I didn't know until this week. But apparently the developers of Jak and Daxter, when they saw Kingdom Hearts for the first time, that's when they decided in Jak 2 they were going to do pre-rendered cutscenes. Because in Jak 1, all of the cutscenes used in-game graphics, which back then was the customary thing. Like, think of any N64 game. Think of most PS1 games. you're looking at the in-game graphics when you look at a cutscene. Kingdom Hearts really was one of the series and one of the games to really start using these sort of pre-rendered cutscenes that looked as good as they did. I mean, compare the pre-rendered cutscenes of FF7 on PS1 to Kingdom Hearts on PS2. It's night and day. Anyway, I didn't know this, but apparently the Jak devs were inspired by Kingdom Hearts, and that's why in Jak 2 you see some pre-rendered cutscenes. Okay, last but not least, Final Fantasy XIV announces that Fall Guys will be returning to the Golden Saucer, which is always good. It looks like Fall Guys is going to fade in and out of FF14. Like, it'll be here for a little bit, then it's going to go away. Then it'll come back for a little bit, then it's going to go away, which will be interesting. Knockville says, I remember seeing those KH1 screenshots too. They were mind-blowing. Like, I don't think people appreciate enough how mind-blowing the pre-rendered cutscenes of Kingdom Hearts 1 were. Now, again, it's not like they were the first ones to do it. Let's be clear about that. But they were one of the best to do it. And they did it in a way and at a volume that was unheard of in the gaming industry before then. And now everything is freaking pre-rendered. But yeah, I think that is going to wrap it up for today. I think we covered everything I wanted to discuss. Lots of cool stuff. I mean, that FF7 stuff's got me thinking. Nintendo had a good week. Metaphor continues to rake. I look forward to playing more of that. And again, as long as things go well for me today, you guys can expect a pretty long stream for Metaphor ReFantazio tomorrow. And based on what I've seen here, we're probably going to do an FF7 podcast on Sunday. All right, but we're going to wrap it up here for now. Thank you for hanging out, everybody. Y'all the best. Chat, I got a lot of love for you. Y'all be good. Have a good Friday. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other.